voice of Woody.
Yeah!
And Tony Hale, the voice of Forky. All right, how's everybody feeling? You got some questions? You're armed with some good questions. You were great last time. Okay, how are you guys feeling? And I want to know, this franchise has been such a juggernaut and so successful. Toy Story 3 alone made nearly $500 million at the box office. What kind of pressure is there to do as well or top?
Not until now.
You're welcome.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I should answer that question.
Go for it.
Well, I will say that when we start off in the story room just thinking of ideas, we're never thinking like, oh, Toy Story 3 made all this money, we got to do that same. We're just trying to tell a good story, that's all. Right. If we start to think about all the stuff that happens afterwards, I think I'd just collapse on myself.
We wouldn't do it. We started just thinking about the box office.
Right, so, but we love these characters, we love the world, and Pixar's built upon Toy Story, and so we just wanted to tell a great story.
And Tony, talk to us a little bit about joining this family that is already so established and so beloved.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, and which helps because Forky is very overwhelmed. But I remember when they brought me up to Pixar and they kind of described him as, he's kind of nervous, and I was like, check. He asks a lot of questions, check. And he's kind of gullible to a fault, and I was like, bingo, I'm in. So I just love that he, sees everything as new, and I mean, mainly I love that he's a character that his home place is trash. That's all he knows, is to help people eat soup. And then Woody comes along and shares that he has a greater purpose. And I think just in life, anybody who might see themselves that way, and they have worth, they have purpose. And that's just a beautiful message that Toy Story is giving us.
Indeed. Thank you, guys. Okay, out to you. Right here, front row.
Hi, Gerald.
Hi, Jeremiah with Laughing Place. This is for Annie. What is it like stepping back into Bo Peep's?
Knickers?
There you go.
Pantaloons, I think. That old-fashioned thing. Well, lovely with a new, improved, emboldened, courageous, seasoned gal. It's been lovely.
Okay, right here. I like your vest.
Oh, thank you. It has a back with Woody on it.
Yes.
This question is for Tom. My name is Jessica from The Healthy Mouse. And when I saw the movie, I never predicted that this was going to be the end of Woody's story. I didn't think that this is where it was going to go, but it's so beautiful and so perfect. And I was just wondering, what were your thoughts and emotions when you first read the script for Toy Story 4?
Reading the script, that's hilarious. The way this has worked, on the first one, and this was now 4 years ago, we actually did read a script. It was a screenplay that looked like every other screenplay. And you read that, and then you saw every storyboard animatic of the entire story. The second movie, there was a script, but there was no really. We had made one. We had the understanding of it. We realized there's no real way you can appreciate the weaving of imagery and character that Pixar did on the paper. So we really did wait to see the sequences put together. The third one, they didn't even bother doing anything other than showing us the movie in animatic form before we began recording. And on this one, I never read a complete script. I don't think anybody did, but we read the sequences that we were in and had a continuous running dialogue of what was going. These movies are made with a great flexibility of it. They work on it, you record it, they start off with the storyboards and words that you say, and then you record them, and then they go away for 6 months and refine and alter and change and test what we have done up to that point. And so every time we would show up to work, there would be some new iteration of this idea that had been presented to us at the beginning of what everybody is going through. And what was brand new on this one was that Annie and I got to record together at the same time. And that never happens. You're always in a sound stage by yourself, not being able to move off mic. And we got to actually relate with this vast history between the two of us, you'd leave a recording studio session thinking, wow, we took it pretty far there. But every time we showed up for the next one, something was revealed to us in the pages that they had for us. So we always knew what territory we were going into, but never the specific route.
It's sort of like acting as a treasure hunt.
Thank you. Right here.
Or you can shout.
Hi, my name's Molly. I'm with All Ears Net, and this is for Tom. So you've been in a lot of monumental roles. My husband's favorite movie is Forrest Gump, my mom's is Saving Mr. Banks, and mine is Toy Story. So I just wondered, no pressure, I just wondered what it's like to step back in Woody's cowboy boots after it's been a quarter of a century that you've been Woody. Is it possible to put into words what Woody means to you?
Woody has been the great gift that I've seen play out again and again in my own family as well as sort of around the world, even in the cultures that it's not my voice, in Spanish or Mandarin or what have you. Woody still is this three-dimensional emotional bag that kids carry around with them. What I have truly appreciated is that no matter how old you are now, you are when you see one of the movies, you're the same age you were when you saw the first one. And there's not a bump, there's not a jolt, there's no nostalgia, nothing ages poorly. It's exactly as it was and sort of always will be. And I think in some ways it's like the definitive Disney enterprise is that there is a cohesiveness and an eternal quality to not just the stories and the characters, but the emotional bonds that we all have with each one of them. And I have always been dazzled when they have come back and said, we're going to try another one. Because the question always is, oh, really? Well, ain't you guys bold? You think you can match that last one we did? Well, good luck. And then they say, as soon as they start talking about Gabby Gabby or Duke Kaboom or the true catalyst of Toy Story 4, so much that it's called Toy Story Forky. Tony Hale is Forky. Because look at that, look what he is. He is a bunch of stuff that has been empowered by the imagination of his creator. And that is the essential, that's what being a toy is. That's the great power of what a toy has. So they did it. These crackpot geniuses up there at Pixar, the 900 or so of them that operate in their darkened rooms and take out food for months at a time.
Tim described you in a similarly hilarious fashion, I think. Who's next?
It's true.
Here? Front row? Several on the front row.
Hi, this is for Tony. I've been obsessed with Forky since the teaser trailer, and I'm just went in last night. They were handing out Funko Pops. Forky was the first to go.
I haven't got one.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Wondering what it's like to have a character in a movie that's not even released yet that is already a favorite of so many people and has already become so iconic.
Oh, well, that's really nice to hear. I mean, I mean it when I say that I'm still kind of waking up to this. So even you saying that, I'm like, sorry, say that again. It's hard to even digest because this has been such a iconic franchise that I never thought that I would be a part of something, but. To what Woody, I just called him Woody. He's always Woody to me. To what Tom was saying is there was a simplicity to Forky that I just absolutely fell in love with, and the fact that he's made from pipe cleaners and a spork and little popsicle sticks, and he brings Bonnie so much joy. And he's brought into the world. He doesn't understand the rules of the universe. He's very confused when people drop to the ground, when humans walk in. He's just kind of always wide-eyed, and he's very present. And I loved the simplicity of it. And it's been a huge honor to voice him. But I will say, we are so grateful to be here and to be these voices. But we are such a small piece of the pie of what is involved in Toy Story. The amount of artistry and creatives and tremendous labor that has gone into this movie outside of us. I mean, the attention needs to be shined on that, because they really have worked so hard, and it's just, the movie is eye candy. It's just such a visual masterpiece. It really is.
Back here in the red.
Hi, I'm Andrew Raimondo from Scholastic News Kids Press Corps. A main question I have is the main message of the story, you can leave things behind and start new adventures?
The way we were thinking about it as we were working on it is if I was just to sum it up in one word, it's transition. So every character in this movie has gone through a transition, or is struggling with going through one, or has not gone through one. So Peep has gone through a transition that we learn about while working on the movie. Woody is struggling with moving from Andy's room to Bonnie's room. Forky doesn't even want to transition at all. Right. And Gabby is kind of stuck in time. That's why part of the reason we put her in an antique store is like things are not changing around her. She's covered, there's dust everywhere. And even Duke is haunted by, his past as well. So that's how we approached it when we were working on it. Just kind of thinking that all these characters are kind of having the same theme that way.
And just to echo that, Annie, I remember on our first session with you, you said something that was really important to us. It was just going through the first set of pages, and I think between takes you looked up and you said, "Oh, she speaks a little differently now." There was this, you noticed that just the I don't even remember the specifics, but we looked at each other, yeah, exactly. And I just, that little nuance made, that you noticed it and felt it, was a little marker for us that it was going the right way.
Okay, Brentwood.
John from BigFatPanda.com. Tony, as of yesterday, my favorite animated character of all time, maybe apart from Mickey Mouse, is Forky. Now, I feel that he was very Buster-esque. Sure. Is that a conscious decision?
Yes.
Absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
Did you go through anything for his personality?
I just dove into a lot of pain. I think it's like, because somebody mentioned, what was really funny is when I came into Pixar, they had attached some lines from Buster Bluth and Gary Walsh from Veep to Forky, just to kind of give him his kind of essence and his kind of neurosis. And I thought about it, I was like, you know what, Forky and Gary and Buster would be a little neurotic Avengers together. walking around the world. But I don't know, he's very, there's a lot going on.
Okay, right here on the second row.
I think Walt Disney would be so proud to know that Forky and Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
What an honor.
Hi, I'm Heather from Chip & Co. And my question is for Tom. When you walk into Toy Story Land, Woody is right there and right front and center. Everyone who walks in, that's the first thing they see. What was it like for you the first time you walked into Toy Story Land?
It's not just because we have made these movies for the last 25 years, but I think that we all sort of know how commerce works right now. And there is this protocol that says you have a movie coming out, so therefore you build a land or you put a game on it, and whether the movie is decent or not, you have to put up. You can't escape it, no matter how much you want it, But there has been this interesting thing about Toy Story, is that it exists sort of by audience demand, by way of audience need. If the second movie hadn't worked out or it had petered out somehow, I think we would have lost the confidence of everybody who has watched it. So all of these movies exist because they were willed into existence by the audience who was willing to invest it and return right where they were, and by the people at Pixar who did not take their responsibilities lightly when it comes down to Toy Story. They have to be able to reach a level of gravitas or import or connection. And that land over there is the example of it as well. I mean, they could have banged one of those things out pretty quickly, you know, and it would still be up. But this is now a thing because they're not just iconographic images. They're actually emotional beats that people carry with them, and it's only because these movies have been so important. We're on our 5th or 6th generation now. How long does a generation last? 3.5 years? I don't know. But you know, when the next one comes into consciousness, there's now. It's almost as though they were just now going to build a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or something like that, because you could view it as being late, but because it has garnered this kind of like attention and the attention of you all, that it's kind of like fitting and proper that it exists now. You know, as opposed to,
it also makes so much sense to me that Woody is in front at the park, because your voice, he is so welcoming and so like. He's the father that you just guiding you through life, and there's just such a warmth that Tom has created in these creators.
He's the guy. I think I have said these 3 words more on the Toy Story movies than I've said anywhere else in my life, and it has always been, "Come on, guys!" I've said, "Come on, guys," 8 billion times. Some iteration of all the Toy Stories.
Could you pass the microphone? Yeah, to your left. Thank you. Go for it.
So, Tim Allen said that he was salty that Woody's such a big giant thing at the head of Toy Story Land. So, are you guys still best friends or no?
We actually have become very close simply because of the union of Woody and Buzz. After we made the second one, we began to have regular lunches, about every 3 months or so, in which he and I sit down, and for the better part, and alcohol is not involved. We sit down and we talk for about 3.5 hours straight every time we get together, and we do seek each other out in order to touch on all the aspects of our lives, certainly professionally, but it would not have come out were it not for him being Buzz and me being Woody. I think the newbies, I guess you're the only new one here, there is a profound thing that comes from being Forky or Bo or Woody. That brief story, you've been to Disneyland as well. I don't know if they have it in Disney World, but they have that fantastique, whatever, and everybody's fireworks and there's dancers. And in Disneyland, the closing of the show is the Mark Twain steamboat comes by, and all of the Disney characters are dancing on that steamboat. Belle and Sleeping Beauty and Mickey and everyone. Mulan is there. They're all there. Captain Hook, Peter Pan. And I was there with my family. My daughter, who's in her 30s, burst into tears. I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Look, Dad, look at the end of the boat." And it was Woody and Buzz. And she said, "Dad, you will always be on that boat dancing for the rest of time as long as Disneyland is here." And that's more than just a cool thing. It's actually some sort of talisman, I think, that we all get to carry with us now, just because we were smart enough to say, "How do you think we should do this, guys? Come on, guys!" How do you
Just hand it right behind you, please. There you go.
This is Clint from ThrillGeek.com. Kind of question for any of you guys. If you guys could portray any other character in Toy Story, who would it be?
Ooh. I go do Kaboom.
Yes.
I go there.
I don't know. I'm so happy with what I play. I never have thought about that. It's like asking who else you would like to be in life. I don't know.
I'd bring Beaker from the Muppet Show into the universe.
Oh, yes.
Because he's my fave.
Right here?
I just have a question for Tom. Tom, when you did this movie 25 years ago, you'd come off Philadelphia and Forrest Gump, and just what you thought Toy Story could be. Was it just a one-off for you, or did you imagine it could be what it became?
There was something that was ridiculously exciting. Much like what they did with you, they took a line from, believe it or not, Turner and Hooch, and animated Woody saying, "Don't eat the car, don't eat the car, you're eating the car, stop eating the car." And I just looked at it, it was just a figure on a blue background, and I sort of like, well, how did they do that? That was one question. But then what the story was all the way through, it was a bit of a very, very tough job. I think truly recording these things, you have to stand still and inhabit a physical space that is usually wrenched with, my diaphragm always hurts after a recording. Because come on guys, it's all that some version of that plays all the way through. But upon seeing it, when it was all done, there was just no doubt that something had been created here that was much bigger or grander than I think anybody sort of anticipated. It was just special, and that doesn't happen very much. So what started off as, oh yeah, I'm doing a thing, and there'll be a cat voice, and I guess there'll be a doll, and that was one thing. But then when it became what it was, the question was then is what's the import of this going to be? How far is this going to have influence? And it only continued along because the next story was not just a sequel, was not just a cashing in, but it was a more investment in what the original asked of us all.
Summer before last, I just want to say this, it struck me. So I was in a boat going down a remote area of the Amazon, and there was a local boy, playing on the banks of the river, and he had on a t-shirt that said Toy Story with Woody on the front. This is on the Amazon. And I thought, man, this thing is so much bigger than any of us could ever have imagined and has gone so far. That's all I have.
And then he yelled, "Why weren't you in Toy Story 3? Hi, I'm John Frost with thedisneyblog.com, and Pixar it's an animation studio, but it's also a technology company in large part. And every film you're learning something new or doing something amazing. Can you talk a little bit about what was developed for this film? I mean, the porcelain look on Bo Peep and
yeah, we researched a ton of how porcelain reacts to light, how it breaks. We broke a lot of stuff and filmed it. The technical challenge in this one was at the antique store, because there's 10,000 items in the antique store that all had to be built and shaded and set dressed and everything. And we didn't even know if our computers could actually render that, because there's so much stuff. So early on we did some tests, and it turned out pretty good. And we're like, okay, we can actually do this. So that was, and then we needed to just make more stuff to go into that antique store. So a lot of it was made for this film. There's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie because we just got lazy. And so you can find, I swear, if you pause any frame when they're in the story, you'll see something in the background.
Yeah, from every movie Pixar's ever done, there's something in the antique store.
Wow, come on.
Some we didn't even know. The sets department, I just noticed the other day, Carl and Ellie's house shrunk down on a shelf, from up.
Bing Bong's rocket is in the background.
Now, will we have the ability, or because we're streaming these things now, that we can actually pause them and look at them? Can you do that when you're streaming something?
Yeah,
as opposed to a good DVD?
It's a little harder, but you can do it.
Okay, all right. Because I just go to the theater and scream back at the projection.
That'd be harder.
Okay, right here with the mic.
This is a question for Tom. This is Ellen from Mouse Planet. You gave a very emotional performance at the end, and it's a very emotional moment at the end of the movie for Woody. Can you talk about the emotions that you have coming to the end of Woody's story at the end of Toy Story 4?
We were all there, and when we ended up recording the very last line, I had to I had to come to there was a realization where it was like, oh, is that the last line? And they all said, yeah, that's it. And it was, we were back in the original, we were in studio.
HB.
Yeah.
Disney.
Stage B. Doc, who is the mixer, was through the glass, and that's where it all began, and that's where it was all ending. Earlier, the sessions before that, Tim had texted me with his in that kind of way. Hey, hold on to yourself, these lads. You're not gonna believe it. Still recovering. And so, knowing that we were going to be in this territory, I asked if it was okay. Usually, you have the mic stand and the mic, you have the stand and the mic, and they're all at a table in front of you. And I asked if we could turn it around, so my back was to them, because I didn't want to have any self-consciousness for what I knew was going to be the last. Certainly the last few hours I'm going to be spending on the movie, but also recording the last scenes. And when it came to pass, I felt as though I was on the other side of a river waving to everybody that I had left back in the old country. It was pretty profound. It was there's so much muscle memory that goes into it. You drive into the lot through the same gate. You park in the same spot they had for you. Then you go through the same doors, and you get in your car and you drive back through, and you think, I've recorded the last moment of the current Toy Story. And we have these talking points that we've been given in regards to talking about whatever future may come to pass. Just give me a second, I'll give you the rendition of what I'm supposed to say in regards to a possible other Toy Story.
I think you just said a lot of stuff you weren't supposed to.
I think I just did.
Pretty sure about that.
I know where we leave off. The Toy Story 4 is about Woody's journey into the world outside the comfort of Bonnie's playroom and all the possibility that holds for a toy. So just take that and extrapolate it as far as you want to, and we'll see what goes on. And thank you, Disney Vertical Integration Department, so that I'm aware of what I'm supposed to say here.
Thank you for staying on message.
Could you pass the mic, please? One row behind you. Sir, do you still have a question? Yes.
My question is Dorian from Collider. I was going to ask, since we have Disney Plus, would you ever be interested in exploring Toy Story World on that streaming service for the future? Maybe a spin-off or shorts or anything like that?
Right now I'm producing some short films for Disney Plus, which star Forky, our very own Hale.
Isn't that the best news ever?
So yeah, that's a
He
series.
asks a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's a series called Forky Asks a Question, and there's 10 episodes that will be on Disney Plus when it comes live in November.
I'm not working on them, but they are hilarious.
And I love it because it's these questions that maybe people are embarrassed maybe to ask, but they really don't know. And I learned so much just from all these simple questions that I probably should know, and I didn't.
This is the day it began to go to Tony's head. You were here when it all began. Next time he'll have collars up to here, like sideburns coming down, heavy glasses in. Well, let me tell you something about Forky. Forky knows. Forky loves you all. He loves you all.
He's a guru. Talks in third person as Forky.
Forky is here.
Yes. Alicia Lee, AMC Theaters, Annie and Tom, since you guys had the opportunity to work with each other this time, what did you love about working with her, and what did you love working about him?
Even separated by 2 microphones and 2 stands, the way Annie Potts will look at you with her eyes, just kind of like up, like that, just a little bit. And when she says the words that you might have said more than any other 2, it's like, Oh, Woody. Get you every time. You become a little jar of pudding when that happens. Not quite. Start quivering a little bit.
Oh, Woody.
Isn't that just do it one more time?
Oh, Woody.
Okay, here in the red shirt, if you could pass the mic, the row behind you. There we go. To the left, thank you.
Okay, my name is Glenn from Jawa Post Daily Newspaper, Indonesia. To Annie and Tom. So in this movie, Bo and Woody showed us their transition and also their emotional side. Do you have any similar experience like them, which help you to get into their characters? And for Tom, my brother sends his regard from you from Indonesia because he's your biggest fan. Thank you.
I did my best. My best.
What did we relate to about it? Well, I'm 66 years old. I've said goodbye to a lot of people and hello and, held hands and looked out into a new future. And it was sweet to play that out. And, as we said earlier, I never saw the full script. I never knew exactly what I was doing. Over time, I became aware how important the role was going to be, but not until 3 weeks ago when I saw the thing, I told Josh afterwards, I said, thank you so much for putting this crown on my head. I think she's so lovely, and I hope that my wish was to bring all the experience of my long, colorful life to kick-ass Bo.
Yeah. Last question. Okay, sure.
I'm Catherine with Kids First, and I just want to know, for Mr. Tom Hanks, thank you for photobombing me.
Oh, I did? Oh, Catherine. Oh, stand up and I can see. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, was that actually? Did I photobomb your section? You were presenting a special report.
Something, yeah.
Sorry, I photobombed you there. I videobombed you.
I just want to know, do you think Woody and Bo Peep will get married because you're the cutest couple?
Well.
Wait, this could be talking points.
I will say that Woody has known since 1994 that Bo was the figurine for him. He just always knew it. And let me check these talking points.
They're getting harder and harder to find.